Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome. Sunday morning. It is 10:45 a.m. Just look at this. Beautiful day. It is so hot. I had to come out. I had some work this morning. I had some classes this morning. But I had to come out and go for a walk because I was sick earlier this week. I had like 2 or 3 days where one day I was really out of it. I had a head cold. And finally, Friday, Saturday, I started feeling 100%. Like today I'm 100%. Just a little bit of a raspy voice. But I got the whole afternoon off. I got a couple classes in the evening. So I got about 6 hours. So I thought, hey, I'm gonna go for a walk, get my exercise in before it gets really hot in the afternoon, and talk to you guys. So welcome to the show. I am Sri Lankan Sammi, retired with mom and dad. I'm a Canadian citizen, retired in Sri Lanka, living the retired life. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Looks like there's something going on here at the orphanage. I don't usually get out on Sundays because I'm so busy and tired. But I figured, hey, why don't we get out here? Now, I gotta figure out how I'm going to do this. Why don't I do that? I look stupid when I'm walking down the street. I'll just do this. Try to keep the sun out of the camera because I need to get a new, I ordered it, they're coming. They were shipped yesterday. I got a message. So I'm getting a new lens covers for the Insta 360 camera. So hopefully the lens flare and the graininess that you guys see will be gone. And I'm really liking the new microphone. It's really picking up the voice quite cleanly, so I don't have to shout, because the microphones are traditionally on the camera, and I can hold the camera like way out or way up high, and I can just talk in a very normal voice, and the microphone picks it up. So I don't have to yell or scream or shout, and be a little bit more considerate of everybody around me. So today I'm going to talk to you about why is it that I am not, I don't want to say the word political, but why have I stopped caring? And it's true, I have stopped caring about what is going on in the world. And we're going to talk about that today. So we'll see you guys in a second. So, why don't I care anymore? Well, I used to be in Canada. Excuse me. In Canada, I used to be quite political. I wanted to actually get into politics. And I used to care a lot. I started voting when I was 18. I donated. I considered myself a liberal, but middle. I was middle liberal. And when you're young, you have these ideals. And I'll tell you when it started to change. When you're young, you don't pay a lot of income tax, okay? Because you don't make a lot of money. So your income tax rate is very low. You don't have to pay a lot for healthcare or supplemental healthcare because you're young. You don't have to pay property tax because you don't own property. You don't have to save for retirement because you're young. And again, you don't have money. You don't have supplemental health insurance. You don't have life insurance. You don't have kids. And I'm not talking everybody. So please, before we go any further, this is my opinions, okay? I'm not trying to say that this is everybody. I'm not trying to say you're wrong and I'm right. I'm just telling you my side of the story, okay? So please don't get offended, don't get upset, don't get, whatever it is. I'm just telling you why I don't do this, okay? This is my vision, my realization, okay? So when I was younger, and I'm saying 18 to 25-ish, I used to be very politically involved. I would vote, I would donate money, and I would contact my immediate political party member, and I would write letters. This is, you're talking about 35 years ago. Write letters or contact them personally and say, listen, this is my concern. What are you going to do about it? So I was involved in the political parties. They knew who I was. Back in those days, if you were active, they would communicate with you, especially if you donated, because they wanted you to donate more. So when election time came around, I'd be getting calls all the time. And I would be concerned, and I would voice those concerns. And I remember a few times I was asked to join some citizen groups led by the political party. That is a beautiful bird. That would be annoying, but it's a beautiful sounding bird. Hello, puppy. Hey! Hey! You stay there. You see what I mean by the dogs? You just gotta challenge them and then they go back. So anyway, and I lived in a small town, right? So there weren't that many voters. So I was known. And then as I got older and I started paying more taxes, I started getting annoyed with taxes, and how much I was paying and how much was being wasted. Because as a young person, you don't remember the previous election cycles. You only think about the right now. And you definitely do not think, I'm not saying you, I'm talking about me, all right? I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. As a young person, I did not think about the future. And I'm going to assume that most of the young people today don't think about the future, the long-term future. They just think about the immediate future. And they're being convinced by certain groups or political parties or religious groups or self-interest groups or ideals on how the world should be run. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Let me ask you this question. In the 10,000 years of civilization and the, let's say, few hundred years of democracy in the West, has it changed for the better? Or is it getting worse? A lot of people say, oh, it's getting worse. Why? Ask yourself that. Are you saying that people in the past didn't do right? Or is the system broken? Well, the system is broken. Sorry to say. It's the only system we have. People say, well, we got to work in it. When the system's broken, you don't keep trying to change the captain. Okay? If the ship is sinking, you don't change the captain. The ship is still sinking. You fix the ship. okay? You put the captain with the best experience and you fix the ship. Keep switching the captain, nothing changes because the system is the same. Now, when a politician changes, does the entire government change? No, government stays the same. The people working in the government don't change, just the leadership changes. And maybe the directives or the direction changes. And this is what I find funny, and this is what people don't. You forget what the previous government, not the one you elected out, the one before that did. You forget. And it is so sad that you forget. And this is where my money comes into play, my tax dollars. So the government, current government, will spend a whole ton of money doing their pet project or whatever project that they said we're going to do to get elected, right? And then they spend the next 2 years spending money to try to get elected, re-elected. Then if they fail, the new government comes in and undoes everything that they did. All that money spent, wasted. And then they go about spending my tax dollars showing how great they did getting rid of that thing. And they spend more money on something else that is stupid. So it's just a waste of money, round and round, every 4 years, every 5 years. You change the government, and that's what they do. They waste your money. They spend all their time and money blaming each other instead of governing. Instead of making the lives better for us, they make it better for themselves and their rich friends. Now, if you think that that's not happening, go watch The Big Short, okay? About the financial crash of 2007, 2009. I was there. I watched it happen. I was working in finance at the time, so I know the corruption, the illegal things that happen. I watched it happen. I watched the rich make billions, and I watched 8 million people lose their pension and their homes. So, you know, do I care? No. Why? Because I can't change anything. And if I do try, it's not going to change anything. It's just going to happen all over again. And it is. It happened again. It happened in 97. It happened in 2009. It happened again. It's going to continue happening. If the government thought that voting could change anything, they'd make it illegal. And just look at gerrymandering. Look it up. Look at voter ID laws. Why do they do that? Well, they tell you one reason, but the reality is they just want to stay in power because power is money. Look at what lobbying is. This is in the United States. Happens in Canada too. Look at what lobbying is. Look at special action committees are, or super PACs. Just look at where the money is. You know, it's so corrupt and so blatantly in your face corrupt that if you don't see it, you're naive. And when I say you, I mean me. I saw it. When I got into my early 30s, I was working as an executive for the phone company, and I ran a city. My territory was a city in Canada. So my job was to liaise with the local government, the regional government. So I'm trying to gain contracts for their business, manage their existing business, etc., etc. So I learned the inner workings of how the contracts are bid, tendered, and won. Let me tell you, a bunch of corrupt politicians, so bad. My gosh, if I had kept those records, the corruption, the bribes, the peddling, the lobbying, wow. I could blackmail or put dozens of people in jail. And I was just a telephone salesman. Can you imagine what else goes on? It was ridiculous. So that soured me on the democratic process. And then what really soured me was how politicians cave to special interests. In South Korea, the first person the president of South Korea goes to visit doesn't invite to the Blue House, goes personally to visit. The first 48 hours is the head of the largest church in Korea. Korea is a secular nation. Why does he do that? To show respect to the largest political influence in the country. The church controls a lot of votes, which is why South Korea does not have a public anti-discrimination law. As a Western nation, it is perfectly legal for me as a business owner to discriminate based on anything. There is a public anti-discrimination law. So government agencies and public sector businesses cannot discriminate. But me as a business, I can legally discriminate. The reason why the government, in the 15 years I've been in South Korea, 3 times they tried to put forward anti-discrimination law, and 3 times it was struck down from pressure from church groups because they felt that it would force them to recognize same-sex marriage. That's it. That's it. That tiny little thing caused them to deny people their right, their basic rights. Look at your income tax. South Korea has the easiest income tax system I have ever seen. I don't have to do anything. The government tells me what is the lowest tax that I have to pay. They reduce my tax bill. Everything is online. I don't have to keep receipts or do anything. Only if the receipts are like extra. But if I claim my maximum benefits, my maximum deductions, I don't need receipts. And even though I might need receipts, everything is done electronically. Even if I pay cash, it's done electronically. So I can buy something, enter in my tax number, and it automatically goes to the government that I spent that. All my medical bills are automatically categorized by my tax number. I don't have to do anything. At the end of the year, I just punch a few numbers in, make sure everything's correct, and it goes to the government. And they say, yeah, that's exactly what we had. No, sorry, let me rephrase that. The government tells me this is what we have found for you, that this is what you should be paying. Is it correct? And you say yes. Now, if you had extra receipts that they didn't catch, that's when you submit your receipts. In North America, Canada, and USA, that's not the way it is. Why? Because the tax software people have spent billions of dollars lobbying the government to not change the tax laws, to make them complicated so that they can make their money. Why isn't your taxes easier? Why is it so complex? Why is there so much red tape? Why? Because the government is in business to keep itself in business. Look at what they did in, is it Argentina or one of those South American countries? The new president came in and just fired like a dozen ministries that were not required for the country to operate. I think that's beautiful. Why do you need these different ministries? There's no reason for them. So, I'm gonna keep walking this way. So, you know, government waste, it annoys me. So I'm like in my 30s now, and now I'm making a ton of money. And I'm at the top 10% of taxes because I'm single, I have no dependents and no deductions. So I'm paying, well, let me tell you, my last year in Canada, 2007, my last full year in Canada, because I left halfway through in 2008. My last full year in Canada, my taxable income, I paid a total combined tax of 57%. Now that is income tax, provincial tax, health tax, and unemployment. Then I had to pay capital gains tax on the money I earned. Then you have to pay sales tax, which is 15%, a combined sales tax of provincial and federal taxes. Then you have to pay excise tax if you buy alcohol or gas. Then property taxes. I owned 2 houses at the time, which is about 1% of the value of the homes. I don't know how people afford property taxes these days with the value of homes. And you get no services for that. The police don't do anything. You know, a fire happens, okay, well, great, well, the fire's already happened. There's no such thing as a little fire or a big fire. Once you have a fire, that's it, it's finished. You know, you can't come back from a fire, right? If you have a fire where you need to call the fire department to put the fire out, whether it's a small fire or a big fire, that's it, you're not living in that house anymore. So, you know, a fire department is there to protect other people's property from getting damaged once yours is already gone. Police don't do anything. They don't solve crimes. Sorry, they don't prevent crimes. They're lucky if they solve crimes. And I'm talking about 35 years ago, 25 years ago when I lived in Canada. I was the victim of a burglary, a car break-in. Police didn't even bother coming out. But the chief of police's barn was broken into and somebody vandalized his car. Oh, they had forensics out there. They had this and that and the other thing out there. Why? Why? My car was physically broken into and things stolen from the car. Not one, but 3 different cars. Police never bothered coming out. They said, just come to the station, file a report for your insurance. The thieves left items in the car with fingerprints. I said that to them. They said, yeah, we're not going to do anything with that. Right? So I started getting a bad taste in my mouth for government. Why am I paying all these taxes? What am I getting from it? Right? And people say, oh, well, you know, you have to pay taxes. I'm not saying don't pay taxes. I'm not saying that. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. I'm saying, am I getting value? That's what happened. So I started getting disillusioned with government. Let me take a step back. At one point, before I met my ex-wife, I met my ex-wife when I was about 28, 29. Before I met her, I was very interested in getting involved in politics because I saw an opportunity to benefit myself. I learned that if you can't beat them, join them. So I was going to think about supporting one politician, one political party, following that guy through his career. And then when I reached 55, 60, you know, I would do these fundraising events and you know, to be a promoter for one political guy. Because once they start getting into politics, they're in it for life, right? And I didn't want to become a politician. What I wanted to do was I wanted to be appointed. So there's a couple of things you can be appointed to. You can be appointed in Canada to be a Justice of the Peace. Now, a Justice of the Peace, you don't need a law degree. You do the parking tickets and set bail, like night court. And here's the beautiful thing, it's for life, or as long as you want it to be. So I wanted that. And at that time, 25 years ago, 25 years ago, the salary was like $75,000, $80,000 a year. And you work like 3-4 days a week. You do night court, you do traffic tickets, you do things like that. Simple stuff. So I was ready for that. There's your perfect retirement plan. And after you do 2 years, you get a lifetime pension. 2 years. The other one I wanted to do is get an ambassadorship. You know, wouldn't it have been great to get an ambassadorship to Sri Lanka? That's a little bit more difficult to get one of those, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to use the system to get myself what I wanted. You don't think it happens? Go look, go take a look. Go see who is a judge, a Justice of the Peace. Go see who is a ambassador or consulate general of smaller countries, not the big ones, not ambassador to the US. We're talking about, you know, consulate general to Palau, consulate general to Vanuatu, consulate general to, you know, Indonesia, consulate general to Haiti. Come on, right? So then I got married, and then I saw really how my taxes were just, because we were dual income, no kids. It was ridiculous, the amount of money I paid out to the government. So that's basically my rant. I want you guys to think about, why are you stressing over something that you will have no control over, that can change on a dime in the next election cycle, or when you're old and you have no power? You know, just look at the majority today. They're just so influenced by what they read or what they see. Why? Because those companies want your money. Do you think that the news organizations tell you the truth? They tell you what you want to hear so that you keep watching them, and they're advertisers. Come on. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. I stopped watching the news. I can vote in 3 different countries. I don't vote anymore. I can legally vote in 3 countries. Now I'm gonna start voting in Sri Lanka. Hey guys, sorry about that. The camera turned off again. I gotta figure out what is a better way to record when it's like 35 degrees outside. I'm pouring sweat. I just wanna say thank you before I go to everybody who's watching, liking, sharing, commenting, especially to my super sponsors. You guys are amazing. I truly appreciate the love and support you guys are sending. Channel supporters, you guys keep commenting, liking, ask me anything you want, and I will answer right away. I'm small enough that I can still get online and answer your question. I'm Sri Lankan Sammi, as I have tattooed on my arm.